Yeah, because last year there was a lot of promise, and people were looking at Atlanta as a sleeper team. If Penix can take that next step, especially, and people liked what they saw out of him late in that first season to give them that hope. It never materialized, which is why there's a whole new regime and so forth. But do you think that even though they were a sleeper team last year, that this year, like you were saying, in a way that fans just should temper any sort of expectations, and we're not talking a playoff team? Or do they have the personnel that if everything were to go right, especially being healthy, that they could be there at the end in a much tougher division now, even though most people aren't expecting it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a tough division still. I'm not. I mean, I think the Panthers had a good draft. I do like what they did. I mean, all the NFC South teams really, I thought, had good drafts. I just don't. I fundamentally don't believe in Bryce Young, so that is obviously going to sour my opinion of whatever the
Sure.
Panthers do building
Yeah,
around
I
him.
get it.
But I do like otherwise what they've put together there for the most part. But I think the Bucks have kind of lost their soul this offseason. That's going to be problematic for them. And they kind of, I mean, we saw what happened to that team down the stretch last year.
Mm-hmm.
And the Saints are the Saints. And Tyler Shuck is interesting, but Tyler Shuck looking like an average quarterback in his first season, it doesn't really move the needle for me when he's already like 26 or 27 years old. I think if he didn't even look competent, that would have been a really big problem. So certainly didn't play poorly, but I think a lot of cart before the horse happening in New Orleans. But all that being said, I also don't think the Falcons are some juggernaut team. I think this team is looking, they're between 7 and 9 wins, something like that. But 9 wins probably wins this division. So, I mean,
true. Good.
If everything goes right, I mean, well, the thing is, like, if you're saying you would get the best possible Tua Tagovailoa, well, that was an all-pro quarterback. I mean, in between that season and the other ones, there's been a lot of bad football. But if you're saying you get that Tua for an entire season, then sure, they can be a playoff team, no problem. But the issue with Tua, obviously, is that it's one of the most inconsistent quarterbacks in the NFL. So much more likely you get some games that look like that and some games that don't. But at the end of the day, I think they're going to be much more competently coached on the offensive side. I think their defensive coaching last year was very good, and they really overperformed on the defensive side. But offensively, that unit was totally lost in the woods. And from the head coach on down, I think it was a disaster. I think the Raheem Morris hire is one of the worst of that cycle, no doubt. And there was a bad culture being instilled on the offensive side of the ball. And I think it's a much needed change. It's going to be very different on the offensive side with Stefanski and Tommy Rees. And again, none of these guys were exactly winning any popularity contests where they came from either. But we'll have to see if this is a better situation. I think most Falcons fans are just holding out hope that it's Matt Ryan actually calling the shots and not some figure from the ownership group.
Sure.
And maybe Matt Ryan is the one to actually get this team out of neutral and into some winning football for a change. Just maybe not this year. Maybe not. Maybe they do get to 9 wins. That'd be great. But I'm not, going to go out and say that this is they should be the favorite for the division necessarily. I think
sure,
total crapshoot. Yeah.